Hi, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on a Friday night. I'm Jane Monreal. You are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Usually I'm in the morning, so did the little flipperoo tonight. We want to get to full coverage and play some of these press conferences and raw sound bites and interviews with the death of NASCAR legend Greg Biffle, who died in a plane crash yesterday morning out of Statesville. And he, his wife, and 2 children died, as well as 3 others on that plane. Today, the NTSB held their first press conference. We expect another one tomorrow, but they got into town yesterday. There's a team of about 16, and Michael Graham, the board member of the NTSB, conducted this press conference for us today. We're going to play this for you in its entirety now on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Graham. I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. Joining me today is our investigator in charge, Dan Baker. At approximately 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday morning, December 18, 2025, a Cessna Citation 550 airplane, registration number November 257 Bravo Whiskey, crashed while attempting to land on runway 28 at Statesville Regional Airport here in Statesville, North Carolina. There were 7 souls on board the airplane. Unfortunately, there were no survivors. Before I go on behalf of the NTSB, I want to express our most sincere condolences to the families and loved ones who lost their lives in this terrible tragedy. We know those on board were deeply rooted in this community, and we know it's especially tough on the families this time of year in this community, so you will be in our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers during this time. We do have a representative with us from the National Transportation Safety Board's Transportation Disaster Assistance Division here in Statesville, in contact with the family members of those who lost their lives in this terrible tragedy. They will be providing them with resources they will need to get through this tough time, and also provide updates on our investigation. Accurate information regarding fatalities and injuries stemming from this accident will be provided by the local medical examiner. The NTSB GO team arrived last night, so today was our first day on scene, first full day. I want to briefly give you some background on who we are, our processes and procedures, followed by some factual information about the ongoing investigation, steps our team is taking here on the ground, and what you can expect from us in the coming days. The NTSB is an independent federal agency charged by Congress to investigate all civil aviation accidents and significant accidents in the other modes of transportation. Our mission is to determine the probable cause of the accidents, recommendations to prevent future tragedies like this from ever happening again. We do not assign blame or liability. We are here on scene to gather perishable evidence, which our team methodically and systematically reviews throughout the course of the investigation to determine the probable cause. We have a team of 16 experts from the NTSB here with us, being led by our investigator in charge, Dan Baker. Dan is a senior accident investigator with more than 25 years experience at accident investigations, both at the NTSB and the Air Force. Dan and our team are also supported by our deputy investigator in charge, Andrew Swick, and he is currently at the accident site at this time. I want to emphasize this is the beginning of a very long process, and we will not jump to any conclusions while we're here on scene in North Carolina, nor will we speculate. Early this morning, we held an organizational meeting where we established parties to the investigation. The NTSB offers party status to those we believe provide needed technical or specialized expertise to the investigation. Eventually, each investigative group, which I will describe in a minute, will produce a factual report, which each of the parties will verify its accuracy. Importantly, however, parties do not participate in the analysis or the report writing. Parties to the investigation so far are the Federal Aviation Administration, and they are always a party to an aircraft accident, and Textron Aviation Incorporated, which was the manufacturer of the aircraft. Additionally, Pratt & Whitney Canada, the engine manufacturer, is serving as technical advisor to the investigation. As part of our investigation, we formed groups to examine specific areas of interest in depth. These groups include subject matter experts from the parties of our investigation, working in conjunction with our NTSB specialists on the factual portions of the investigation. For this accident, we have established the following parties. First one is systems. They will examine components of the airplane's hydraulic, electrical, navigational, pneumatic, and associated systems, together with instruments and elements of the flight control system. The group will also examine the maintenance records. Another group is power plants, which will examine engines and the engine accessories. And the final group we have at this time, although we can add groups if necessary, is operations, which will document the history of the flight and the crew members' flight experience, training, and certification. A preliminary report of this accident is expected within 30 days. However, a full investigation lasts 12 to 18 months before a final report is released. The information that we provide today is preliminary, and it's subject to change during the course of this investigation. I would now like to turn it over to our investigator in charge, Dan Baker, to share some factual information. Dan.
Thank you, Member Graham. The aircraft was manufactured in 1981 by the Cessna Aircraft Company, and it was registered to GB Aviation Leasing, LLC. The airplane had taken off at approximately 10:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 10 minutes prior to the accident. The airplane had departed from runway 28 at the Statesville Regional Airport. Preliminary ADS-B data showed the airplane made an initial left turn to the west, followed by another left turn back to the east towards the airport, approximately 5 minutes after takeoff. The airplane then flew a left base turn to runway 28. The initial point of impact was a runway light stanchion located about 1,800 feet from the runway threshold. The airplane subsequently impacted trees, 2 other runway light stanchions, and the airport perimeter fence short of the runway threshold before coming to rest near the runway threshold. The airplane also came to rest oriented on an easterly heading. Post-impact fire consumed the majority of the fuselage and the inboard wing sections. All 4 corners of the airplane and flight control surfaces have been identified in the wreckage and the debris field. Both engines were present with the main wreckage. At the time of the accident, visual meteorological conditions prevailed with drizzle and broken ceilings at 1,200 and 2,200 feet, as well as a 5,000-foot ceiling were present. The wind was calm with 5 statute miles visibility. I will now hand it over to Member Graham for any questions.
A few more things before I take questions. We are analyzing radar, ADS-B data, video footage, witness statements, audio recordings, and more as part of our investigation. We will also begin coordinating wreckage removal as part of our standard investigation process, and we can move the wreckage to a safe location and make sure it's secure, and so we can follow up and conduct further analysis. I can also confirm that our team was able to locate and recover the cockpit voice recorder, the CVR, one of the black boxes from the aircraft. The aircraft, as we know, it only had the CVR, did not have a flight data recorder, nor was it required to have either one of these for this flight. And that cockpit voice recorder is en route back to Washington, D.C. right now to be analyzed. I'd like to ask if anyone in the public has any photos, videos, door camera video, debris, or were witnesses to this accident. We ask that you please contact us via email at witness@ntsb.gov. Again, that is witness@ntsb.gov. We will provide further updates as they become available. Our team will remain here on the ground in North Carolina as long as we believe it is necessary to gather evidence for our investigation. You can follow the NTSB on X at NTSB_newsroom or on our website at ntsb.gov for the latest information. Finally, I would like to give a heartfelt thanks to the, in gratitude to the first responders who responded to this accident, as well as the medical examiner's office, the airport director, local and state law enforcement, and all those who have been assisting our investigation since before we arrived and as we arrived here on scene. I know they've been working very hard. We appreciate them securing the site for us and keeping it safe while we are here. And we appreciate all they have done. I will now take a few questions, but before I do, I would like to ask you to raise your hand. When I call on you, please state your name and your affiliation. Right here.
Chris Benavides with CBS News. Just a couple of questions. Do we know who was piloting the aircraft?
Chris's question is, do we know who was piloting the aircraft? At this time, we have been unable to verify who was flying the airplane. We do know 3 of the occupants did possess a pilot's license, but we have been unable to verify that at this time. But that's one of the things we're working on.
And just a couple more questions.
One follow-up, please.
One follow-up, okay. Was there a Mayday call?
The question was there a Mayday call? We are not aware that there was a Mayday call. Right here.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. The plane tried to return back to land. Do we know why that happened? Was it a mechanical issue or anything of that nature?
The question is, we believe the plane was turning back to the airport immediately, maybe for some kind of issue. At this point, we are not aware if there was an actual issue or not. We are studying a lot of things. We are trying to get recordings from the various frequencies that the aircraft may have been on, and any other witness statements that may have heard anything on the common frequency. Right there.
Gary Robertson, Associated Press. What can you tell us about any indications of any problems with the plane as it was going out and then coming back in?
The question is, what can we tell you about if we know of anything of any issues or problems with the airplane as it was going out and that it returned to the airport? At this point, we haven't been able to verify anything. We've seen things in the media and stuff like that, but that's not verification. We're talking to witnesses and we're trying to look at or listen to recordings and whatever to see if there was any issue, but we haven't been able to verify anything at this point. Right there.
Joe Marusak, Charlotte Observer. What was the duration of time from takeoff to the crash?
The question is, what was the duration of time from takeoff to the crash? It was approximately 10 minutes. Right there.
Chris Peterson, WXI TV. Have you had the opportunity to interview witnesses yet, and what kind of information have you been able to garner from those witnesses?
The question is have we had an opportunity to interview any of the witnesses at this point, and what kind of information have we received? At this point, we are doing some interviews right now on site. We're looking for additional witnesses. That's why I've put that out during the briefing. But we don't have anything to share. It's much too early to talk about any of that, and that would be go into our analysis section. Let me come over here. Anybody over here?
Jen Cardone, Queen City News. Was this C-550 citation jet single pilot or 2 pilots approved or required?
The question is, was the citation 550 single pilot or 2 pilot approved? The answer is both. Okay. It depends. I believe that at this point there is a waiver that you can have to single pilot operate that aircraft, and many pilots do of this type of aircraft do fly this aircraft single pilot with the waiver, and it can also be flown with a crew.
Stephanie Escobar, Spectrum News. Did the weather play any role in this accident?
The question is, did the weather play any role in this accident? Well, the weather was visual flight rules, but there were low ceilings out there, and there was heavy drizzle at the time. So that is one of the 3 things that we really mainly look at. We look at the people operating the aircraft, we look at the aircraft itself, and then we look at the environment, and the weather is one of those we look at and will look at very closely. Let me come over here.
Dave Verity with WSOC. Off the end of the runway, into that golf course area, that roadway right there, can you talk about some of the damage? I saw your guys out looking in that area today. Some of the things you found out there.
Sure. The question is about what is some of the damage we've seen just short of the runway 28 that we were looking at today and continue to look at. As Dan had said, the first contact was with some of the approach lighting system. There were several approach lighting systems coming to that, lights coming to that runway that were hit by the aircraft. There was also a tree line on the edge of the golf course before hitting the service road or the aircraft perimeter road out there. That many tree limbs and the trees were knocked down and broken off at that point.
Just quick follow-up. So did it hit the ground prior to getting to the runway? Do we know if that happened?
The question is, did the aircraft hit the ground prior to getting to the runway? The response to that is yes, it did hit the ground before getting to the runway.
Outside the fence of the airport, would that be accurate to say? Or near the fence?
The outside the airport, at the fence is what the question is. It's right in that vicinity is where the witness marks are. So we're still evaluating that at this time. Right here.
Katie Solt, WBTV. Was the proximity of the trees to the runway believed to be a factor at all in the plane's attempt to make an emergency landing?
The question is, was the proximity of the trees to the airport a factor in the plane's ability to land at the airport? The airport actually sits a little bit up on the hill and the plateau, so the trees would have been in line with the lighting above the ground. So we do have witnesses that said the aircraft came in very low. Okay, any over here, right in the back.
Dan with Firewire Communications. The plane took off on runway 10 by what we've been able to see online, and it came back to land at runway 28. Have you talked to the airport director to see why there was any reason he didn't land on runway 10 and made the turn to go to 28?
So the question is, the aircraft took off on runway 10, and when it came back, it landed on runway 28. We are still evaluating why. As we looked at the winds, either direction would be appropriate. You normally want to land into the wind. There was reported no wind at that time. So that's one of the things we're looking at this point. It's going to be some time to get to that.
Have you been able, I'm sorry, Dave Verity with Channel 9. Have you been able to determine if there were possibly maybe some other aircraft in the area that forced him to make the go-around?
Question is, were there maybe some other aircraft in the area that forced him to go around? At this time, we're not aware of any, but we're looking at any radar, ADS-B data. I don't think we saw any initially on the ADS-B data out there that there were other aircraft. That's all I have on that at this time. Blue Jacket.
Joe from Charlotte, Joe Marusak, Charlotte Observer. Just a follow-up question. What was the length of the debris field?
The question is, what was the length of the debris field? I think we believe the first contact was 1,800 feet from the approach end of the runway. So it's fairly long, and it is scattered wide and out, so it's going to take some time to document all of that. We were unable to get our drone launched today with the high winds, so we want to get that digitally documented with the drone here, hopefully tomorrow, and we'll get a better idea of how wide and how much debris is out there. Right there.
Melissa Rademacher, Fox 8 News. What type of information might witness statements or people providing pictures and videos give you that you wouldn't be able to find otherwise?
The question is, what kind of statements or evidence might witnesses or videos be able to provide us? Videos sometimes will tell us a lot, give us additional information about maybe where the aircraft first struck the trees or something like that. Additional video on approach would be really helpful to us to get an idea of how high or low that aircraft was. Witnesses sometimes with something they heard, something they saw, things like that. We've received a lot of things, but we have been unable to verify any of it at this point, and any of it as being credible. Right there.
Gary Robertson with AP. There have been some media reports about one of the victims texting a family member saying, quote, "We're in trouble." Are you aware of that text, its veracity, and/or is it playing a role in your investigation?
Question is, there may have been a report of somebody texting out from the aircraft that they were in trouble. At this time, we're not aware of that. If somebody is aware of a text or anything like that, please make us aware of it and let us know via email, and then we'll contact you. And same with the videos. If you have a video, contact us, and we'll give you a way to send it to us, because sometimes those videos don't always come across with a straight email. Right there.
Sarah Johnson, Statesboro Record and Landmark. Do you have an ETA of when the airport will be able to reopen?
Question is, do we have an ETA of when the airport will open? At this time, I can't tell you that. Like I said, we still are in the process of documenting the accident site, and it'll be at least through tomorrow at this point. Right here.
Jordan Bianchi, Athletic. You said some witnesses had said the plane was coming in very low. What else have witnesses said about anything they may have seen?
The question is, I made a mention of some witnesses talked about the aircraft being very low, and you're asking what have other witnesses said. At this point, we haven't been able, I haven't been able to speak with our team on that, and it's information that we want to first verify before we're definitely sure. I mean, we're able to verify the aircraft was low because of the contact with the approach lighting and the trees, but the rest of it we haven't been able to verify at this point. Two more questions. Right there.
A follow-up, this specific type of Cessna, have there been past issues or crash investigations with this specific type of plane? Maybe how many, how prevalent?
The question is, have we had similar investigations and crashes of this aircraft and everything? We do a lot of crash investigation out there, and there's quite a few every year. I say this aircraft has been around a long time, and there are quite a few of them still in service. So I would say, aviation's very safe, and I don't see any specific issues with this aircraft that are significant compared to any others at this point. Last one.
You may have answered this earlier. How old is the aircraft itself?
How old is the aircraft is the question. It was manufactured in 1981. And there's a lot of aircraft out there that are a lot older than that. As long as you keep up with your maintenance and inspection programs that all these aircraft should be on, they can fly for quite a long time. Okay? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right now you are watching a live picture of Air Force One on the ground. President Trump just boarded Air Force One, leaving JBA, Joint Base Andrews, for Rocky Mount here in North Carolina, where he is expected to deliver remarks later on tonight on the economy. So when that happens, of course, we will bring you the latest coverage here on WCNC Charlotte. Watch for that here on WCNC at 11. As well as on the Plus app. So just watching the president now, just getting ready to take off again on Air Force One. It is always a cool sight to see, but a busy day and long night for the president. He just left the White House. He spoke to reporters briefly right in front, boarded Marine One, and then not even 5 minutes, but deboarded Marine One, and then on to Air Force One. You can see them pull the stairs away from the plane and getting those last minute passengers on the plane, and they'll be taking off here shortly. All right. Again, President Trump heading to Rocky Mount, North Carolina. We will be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Just watching a live picture of President Trump getting ready to leave Joint Base Andrews, heading to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, here in the Carolinas, where he is expected to speak late tonight and deliver remarks close to 11 o'clock. No, I'm sorry. Close to 9 o'clock tonight. Sorry. Close to 9 o'clock. We will bring that to you. We'll bring that to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. But he just boarded Air Force One. Doors are closed, and they'll be taking off here very shortly. Oh, we can see some people walking through the windows. Please take your seats. And they'll be headed up here to North Carolina. All right. Speaking of North Carolina, we are, of course, following everything and anything that follows the tragic death of NASCAR legend Greg Biffle in that tragic plane crash that happened yesterday at Statesville Regional Airport. Hearing from so many folks, people in NASCAR, outside of NASCAR, leaders, local leaders as well, including Mooresville Mayor Chris Carney. This is his interview now for you that he gave to WCNC earlier today. We'll play this for you here on WCNC Charlotte.
Just in general, hearing the tragedy, and obviously, knowing Greg Biffle and his family
Sure.
and obviously others that were impacted, what went through your mind?
I think the first thing Statesville's kind of a smaller airport, as you know, and so essentially when something happens, we always know it's going to be closer to home because it's not like a Concord or a Charlotte where you have so many other. So it's always going to be a business owner or a private aircraft for the most part, and so that automatically had us worried that we was going to be somebody that was pretty close to us, and then of course hearing that it was Greg was pretty awful, especially since he's had such an impactful last year. He went into the North Carolina Racing Hall of Fame. We did his induction down on Main Street just a couple months ago. Obviously, we gave him a resolution for all the work he did in Western North Carolina. And as I was laughing earlier, it was funny because we had to actually trick him into coming because he's so humble he wouldn't have done it. So Christina had to tell him we were going to rezone property next to their house so that he would come and fight it. And then we gave him the resolution. But again, we just had dinner the other night over at Table 31, and that earlier that night he did Stocks for Tots and had a line around the Mac Center and out down the street trying to raise toys for needy kids, and he sat there all night long and signed autographs. It truly, post racing, Greg found such a great side of himself where he and Christina really were able to be very philanthropic and giving of their time and their talents, and he was just a tremendous person post-racing. Racing was awesome, of course, but what people don't realize is what he's done since racing has had such a huge impact on not just Mooresville, but North Carolina.
What's the supporter, I guess, outpouring, heartfelt? I know I see flowers growing near his memorial. What have you been getting from folks and hearing from folks who are kind of just feeling?
Well, I think it's always hard losing him. I think losing the whole family. I mean, of course, our heart breaks for Nicole, his first wife, and who lost, her daughter as well. So I think that's the harder part. It's just such a gut punch of tragedy that we can't even get past the fact that we lost not just a great person, but we lost a whole family at one time. And any one of us who are parents it breaks your heart to realize that family is going through that right now. And I think that's really where most of the public's coming from right now, is just sad. It's just a very sad day in Mooresville.
And how long have you guys known each other?
Oh gosh, back in when he was a young man, before he had children or anything. I remember when he's expecting his first child, daughter. We did a lot of stuff with he had a charity that's very pro animal, Friends of the Animals, and we did a lot of stuff together for that. And I just kind of got to know him through that. So it's been probably 15 years or so, yeah, for sure, maybe longer.
And so, you kind of talked about, all the work and charitable work that he's done, but, as the guy in your neighborhood, in your living room, you know what I mean? Who was he when he just... So
even when I sent you that picture of us, you could see, we're genuinely just laughing together. He was just a normal guy. And I think that people lose track of that. Mooresville, even though we've grown to be somewhat of a bigger place now, we still got a lot of small town feel about us. And when we see each other, we still, people still hug each other, and we still have these intimate relationships where enough about each other where it's just not in passing. and to know Greg is to know that, again, post-racing, he so enjoyed doing good things for people. Again, the helicopter to West North Carolina, that's just the beginning. There were so many things that he was working on. He was looking at trying to figure out how to help small business owners in our area, and he wanted to figure out how to do some more stuff to help people in racing, and he just had all these ideas, and he had the time and the talent to do it now. And honestly, like I said, he was just on his way up when it came to the ideas he was trying to do to help the community. And it's really just sad because all of that energy we lost, as well as just a great human being. And again, you can't lose track. Christina's awesome. His wife, she really was a great partner. They together, you always saw them together. They were always doing stuff together. She was all involved while they were helping Western North Carolina. And people don't realize those first 3 days, we did a lot with Banner Oak through Mooresville because we have Niagara Water and we have Lowe's. But people don't realize those first 3 days, people in the mountains had nothing. I mean, nothing. The cavalry was not going to get there. And you're talking about washed out road systems and, you know, colleges that had no food or water on campus up in the mountains. And so if not for people like Greg, and he was kind of the first one, and once he started running, everybody thought it was a great idea and jumped in behind him. So it just shows you one person really can make a massive difference because he inspired so many other people to jump in.
You may have to take a second to think about this one.
Okay.
But if you had to use 4 or 5 words to describe who this man was, what kind of man he was, what words fit him?
Well, that's a great question. 4 or 5 words to describe Greg Biffle. What would I say that would be? Obviously, it's humbleness, but what is his he's just an awesome dude, man. He's just an awesome dude. We have a mutual friend, Bob Mack, who's probably his best friend, and both of us were just saying it's so hard to tell people how, because the Greg Biffle everybody looks, you know, went around the track really fast, right? And you saw him before races, and you saw his family, and you know, and you kind of get this general idea of like what that is, and you assume he's this guy because of that. And in reality, if you walked up to him at a local restaurant and said, "Hey," you'd meet probably one of the coolest, kindest guys you ever met. And there was no air about him. Matter of fact, again, he was embarrassed to get the compliments. Matter of fact, he and I always had this joke that, so he lives on the lake, and we have a group that does this boating, and it brings like tours, and it goes by and hits all the famous people who are on the lake. And so Craig's out there doing some yard work, you know, in his backyard. And all of a sudden the boat pulls up and starts going through his whole resume, you know, this many wins and this many whatever. And Greg laughs and he looks, and he was telling me the story. He's like, hell, I don't even remember winning that one. He goes, that was awesome. The guy knew my better stats than I did. And I mean, that just shows you the fact that, yeah, he was proud of that part of his life, but you can't put in perspective how much more he was enjoying this part of his life. His post-racing, really being involved in the community side, and just gave him a whole new purpose. And he's always been giving, but this is like he took all that energy he had and threw it behind doing good for the community and for his fellow just human beings. And he had a real, I mean, it was his passion. Yeah, it was a real passion. It's like I said, it's tough, and we see this. I mean, we say something. The juniors of the world. I mean, all these guys, they do such a great job of post racing, figuring out how much they can give back, and it really is amazing to watch. And it's just heartbreaking because not only to lose him, but to lose his family, but then to also realize there's no telling what he would have accomplished in the next 20 or 30 years because he really have found a real passion for doing stuff for just his fellow human being. Yeah, sort of the world's definitely not better for him not being here.
Obviously, emotional comments from Mooresville Mayor on Greg Biffle and the mark he leaves on Mooresville and really the whole community of NASCAR, Mooresville, and beyond. And we'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's go ahead and get a check of your weather. Brittany Van Voorhees, our meteorologist for today, did the 6 p.m. newscast along with me and Miles Harris. This is our report earlier from just about an hour ago. All right, let's give you a good weather forecast with Brittany and the weekend.
It's going to be fantastic, Jane. Today was probably one of the lesser good days that we've had this week because we had gusty winds up in the mountains, 50 to 60 plus miles an hour for the highest wind gusts. Even here in Charlotte, getting to 51 with some of those thunderstorms we had this morning. Thankfully, a lot of that wind damage, while impactful, wasn't significantly impactful and didn't last all day. But one area that's still going to see these gusty winds through this evening are our mountain communities. So be mindful of that, folks, if you're heading up there, even if you're not going to ski or snowboard. If you've ever been on those mountain roads, especially when there's fog and low-hanging clouds, the gusty winds can get a little scary at times. And those reasons why we have a high wind warning in effect for Ashe and Watauga County, as well as a wind advisory for Avery. The difference between the two is gust potential 45 to 50 in Avery County. Different National Weather Service office covered versus the Ashe and Watauga County areas, which 50 to 60 is their forecast. So difference of forecast for those areas means different products, but it's just because our area is covered by four different NWS offices. Here's a wider view across the southeast. We're looking at really calm conditions here locally and across most of the Carolinas this weekend, which means travel issues won't be around other than just seeing traffic. Temperatures overnight with lighter winds starting to develop across the Charlotte area Saturday morning means we're right around the freezing mark. Temps in the mountains a little bit warmer than they have been, upper 20s. Normally there's more of a 10-degree difference between the two, but those winds will keep them a little bit warmer. Tomorrow afternoon, near 60 degrees in Charlotte, near 50 degrees in the mountains, and we're only going up from here. Well, that's not necessarily true. We have some ebbs and flows in the forecast over the next 7 to 10 days, but the general trend, the general overall forecast is much warmer than average, and this continues all the way through the Christmas holiday and really into most of the end of December. It currently is December 19th, but I'm pretty sure the next 11 days will not only be above average, but notably above average across most of the Carolinas. So here's the Carolina Christmas preview. We're looking at lows in the mid to upper 40s, highs in the upper 60s to near 70. Where do these numbers compare to average? Well, the average low Christmas Eve, Christmas Day is 33, and the average high is 53. So we're looking at about 10 degrees for lows, 15 to 20 degrees for highs above average for this time of year. And of course, if we get to 71 on Christmas Day, that would actually put us tied for the last spot in our top 5 warmest Christmases on record here in Charlotte. Remember, record keeping in here in the Queen City began in 1878. So the first Christmas we have on record is 1878. Here's your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. So again, ebbs and flows still. We're near average on Monday. We're near average tomorrow. But really, once you get to Tuesday the 23rd and beyond, long-range forecasts, I'm seeing a lot of 70-degree temperatures really until we get to the very, very end of the month.
Doesn't sound too bad. Brittany and I will join you again here on WCNC Charlotte, which streams here on the Plus at 11. And your latest live forecast will be happening then. We'll be right back with some of your national and international headlines, including the DOJ's release on some of these Epstein files that happened today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. The DOJ today releasing the Epstein files, the convicted late sex trafficker, and a number of those pages, we're hearing over 1,000 pages, though, were redacted. But we'll get to that story. First, some breaking news out of Syria, where we've learned tonight U.S. forces have launched a strike against ISIS in Syria. There's new video coming in from NBC News. This in retaliation for an attack that killed 3 Americans last week. Secretary Hegseth saying that this would happen, and President Trump also had vowed retaliation Saturday after learning 2 U.S. Army soldiers as well as a civilian, an interpreter, were killed in an attack in Syria. So we will get more on this information starting tonight. This is the post on President Trump's Truth Social because of ISIS's vicious attack, killing them, in part saying that he announced that that the attack on the United States inflicting is very serious. And again, this attack in retaliation for the deaths of 3 Americans in Syria. But back to the story on the Epstein files being released. New information coming out today. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor has the details from Washington.
Deadline day, the Department of Justice just turned over unclassified files on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. NBC News is reviewing all the documents now. But we can show you this one picture of former President Clinton in a hot tub with someone whose face has been redacted by the Justice Department. We do not know when this picture was taken, and it does not show any wrongdoing. Another picture shows the late Michael Jackson and Epstein. In a letter to Congress, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said there were more than 1,200 names identified as survivors of Epstein or their relatives. Blanche went on to say that the ongoing review will be completed over 2 weeks. But everything was not released, which violates the Epstein Transparency Act, which Congress passed last month. That did not sit well with Republican Thomas Massie and Democrat Ro Khanna, the 2 lawmakers behind the Epstein Act.
The release has been disappointing from the initial read of it. But, you know, I reserve judgment until we go through all of the release.
The White House says by releasing these documents, the Trump administration has done more for the survivors of Epstein than Democrats ever have. The survivors have fought for years to be heard and believed. They have also pushed for the release of the files.
We are representing survivors that have never had a voice.
President Trump initially fought the release of the Epstein files against the wishes of many of his supporters, but the president reversed course once it was clear the Epstein Transparency Act had enough Republican support to pass. In an interview with Vanity Fair, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles said the president's name would be in the files, but not, quote, doing anything awful. Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News, the White House.
And we'll take a couple-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now at 7:52 on a Friday night. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for joining us here tonight and spending part of your weekend with us as we bring you some great conversations in addition to live headlines, breaking news as it happens, and feeds and interviews in their raw form that we can play here. This is the format for it. One of the conversations I had yesterday actually was about more on the health side. As you look forward into 2026, especially if you're in your midlife and that time of your life, you want to get more active, you want to do things a little bit more healthy and just be the best version of yourself. Well, I talked to someone who says it only takes 10 minutes every morning to be able to do that. So I loved having this conversation with Dwight Clark, an author, as well as a longevity expert. We're going to play this for you now as we recorded it here on WCNC Plus. Well, millions of people over the age of 50 often wake up exhausted, even before the day begins. But what if the key to finding more energy wasn't found in a bottle or even at the doctor's office? I like that idea. Our next guest here, Dwayne Clark, is going to let us know what you can do for the first 10 minutes each morning. Dwayne, thanks for joining us here, first of all.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I like this idea. You're a longevity expert. You've worked with a number of assisted homes, assisted living, I should say. And I like the simplicity of a routine, of a 10-minute routine. Let's talk about the first 10 minutes. Why is that so important in the morning?
Well, I'm finding newscasters especially like this since they don't get a lot of sleep. So,
this is true.
So the first 10 minutes, let's talk about what America does normally. Most people in the first 10 minutes before they get out of bed will reach for their phone or their iPad and start scrolling. And then probably they'll go to the bathroom, and then probably they'll have 1 or 2 cups of coffee. All these things are bad in that order. The first few minutes that you wake up, what you should do is realize that your body's been in a hibernated state for 6, 7, 8 hours, and you should do some stretches and some breathing for just like 30 seconds, right? We see a lot of, especially people in their 70s, 80s, that jump out of bed, they'll fall, they'll break a hip, so on. So just doing some ankle twirls and some stretching really is helpful. Also realize what happens to your body when you sleep. Average man will lose about 14 to 18 ounces of water, average woman about 10 to 12 ounces of water, so you're completely dehydrated. So again, before your feet hit the ground out of bed, have a glass of water, maybe 12 ounces, room temperature, by your bedside, and down that. And that will, first of all, detoxify your system of all the bad cells that your bodies work very hard during the night to get rid of, things that give us cancer and heart disease and diabetes and Alzheimer's. It sheds those zombie cells out of your body. But it will also give you more energy. It'll get rid of brain fog. It will even help with weight loss. And then, we have an acronym called SAVERS, which is S stands for silence, it's like meditation. A is for affirmation. One of the things I tell the young people that I've mentors, put 4 or 5 notes of gratitude up on your mirror the night before. So the first thing you see in the morning is things that you're happy about, things that you're grateful for. Then the V is for visualization. So this is like manifesting. What kind of things do you want to happen in your life? Exercise. Exercise doesn't go run a 5K. It just means movement. Could be walking your dog, going out and doing some yoga. The R is for reading. Whatever is going to put positive thoughts into your brain. And the S is for scribing or journaling. Write down some things that you want to accomplish during the day. So really easy things.
Oh, wow. I love it. You've also said that burnout is what ages us fastest. So, oh boy. What do we need to be watching out for there?
Well, there's so many factors that attribute to burnout. One of the things you have to realize is how our body and our systems work. This thing in our head, this brain, is like a data center. Whatever we put into this brain is going to program our body. So if we put negative thoughts into it, our body's going to say, oh, well, that's what you want. If we have these depressing thoughts, our body's going to go, oh, I have low energy. One of the things that we advise people to do is not watch toxic television before you go to bed. I used to be a big crime show guy and so on, and my wife, who was a 40-year trauma nurse, said, do you really want to watch that stuff before you go to bed? Because then you'll dream about it, and it will interrupt your REM sleep and your deep sleep and everything else, and then you'll wake up groggy. She was right. And so, sleep is one of the most important things that are causing burnout, right? We don't get enough sleep. We don't get enough REM sleep. We should be getting at least an hour and 15 minutes of REM, an hour and 15 minutes of deep sleep during the night. And so there's all kinds of tracker devices now that you can look at that. And then the biggest thing is what we're putting into our bodies. And an interesting statistic, in 1900, the average American ate about 22 pounds of sugar. Today, the average American eats about 160 pounds of sugar. So that's going to affect our brain function. I mean, you're eating a full-size human full of sugar, right? It's really ruining us. It can cause depression, mood swings, all those kinds of things, increased weight, but it's ruining our health, our cellular health as well. So those are some of the things that are causing burnout.
So if I wanted to make a change, how does one start?
Yeah, well, there's some very simple things. I mean, first pick up the book will be filled with all kinds of simple guides. So the ones like the most popular one is just drink your water in the morning, right? Just start out hydrated. Get enough sleep. Make sure you're not doing things that jeopardize your sleep. So put in a lot of blue light into your brain before you go to sleep. Exercising right before you go to sleep, drinking alcohol right before you go to sleep. All these things are bad that interrupt. So getting enough sleep is foundational, right? And then you have to look at what I call incoming toxicity. Whether that's I'm on TikTok or I'm on Instagram, I'm watching bad television or whatever it is, get rid of that toxic environment that's polluting your brain and polluting your body. And, it's just some simple things, just movement. Our bodies are meant to move. They're not meant to hibernate constantly. And again, it can be one of the greatest exercise that we see in adults is just gardening, just going out and being in nature. And nature is a huge component for impressing your immune system. I mean, if you go into a Japanese doctor and you say, hey, I'm suffering from anxiety or high blood pressure, whatever, they would literally write you a prescription to go walk in nature twice a week for an hour. And meditation has been around 5,000 years. Blood pressure medicine has been around 70 years. So which do you think has more credibility?
Right. There's definitely something to it. I like quiet time as well. How about for people who have mobility issues or are challenged in that way? Can they move as you suggest? Sure. Can they still do this?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with 80,000 elderly over the last 40 years, and there's always some kind of mobility you can do. You may not be going into the gym and bench pressing 200 pounds, but, when I travel, I take stretch bands. And, even if you're wheelchair bound, you can attach a stretch band to something and do stretching exercise and tone your muscles just through that simple exercise. And again, stretching in itself is super important for the body because it oxygenates your body. When you stretch, you get more oxygen. And then last is breathing. Just making sure, typically what we do is we breathe into our chest, we don't breathe into our belly. So taking deep cleansing breaths. I'm sure as a broadcaster, they would teach you, take 3 deep breaths before you go on, right? Clear your head, clear your mind, calm your sympathetic nerves down and, relax. And our body needs that relaxation.
I love it. Even when I hear the word breath, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good reminder. Take nice deep breath. All right, so you've worked with thousands of older adults. What would you say is the biggest shift that would benefit the most to have the most vibrant, older version of yourself?
Well, it's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked it because I'm making a documentary right now, and I'm interviewing 100 centenarians, and I just passed number 45, and everybody's like, well, is it their diet? Is their exercise program? Is it genetics? What is it? And it's none of those things. What it is an attitude of perseverance. I mean, the stories that these people have told me about their lives. I mean, people being in internment camps, people being prisoners of war, people being being in World War II, being shot down in airplanes. And they have a grit that I find so admirable. And they just, whatever trauma happens to them in life, they almost look at it as a gift. Like, oh, that was a good lesson. I learned something from that. So it's attitudinal more than anything else.
I think that's great advice and words to live by. Got to get some more grit.
More grit.
Just as life as it comes. Yes. All right. Where can people learn more about tips to a midlife makeover, Dwight, in the name of your book again?
Yes. You can find it on Amazon, Miracle Mornings After 50. And, if you want to know more about me, you can go to Dwayne, DWAYNE, J, the letter, CLARK.com. And it's already made #1. It just launched yesterday on self-help books, and #1 on happiness, and #1 on aging. So it's shooting up the charts here.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations. And thank you for those
so much.
tips. Appreciate your time.
My
Dwight
pleasure.
C. Clark.
Thanks for having me. All right.
All right, take care. I called him Dwight Clark after the football player earlier. I need to do the 10 minutes so I can remember. It is Dwayne J. Clark. That is his book, Miracle Morning After 50. Hopefully that is something that speaks to you, and if it does, you know where to find it. All right, you will find us here in about 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC+. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 8:05 on a Friday night. President Trump is heading to Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, where he is expected to deliver remarks. It looks like this rally has gotten underway already. They are speaking on the economy. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News.
Firefighters are not asking for special treatment. We're asking for fair treatment that reflects the reality of our work. No tax on overtime recognizes that when firefighters stay late, work holidays, and miss family milestones, they are doing it for their communities. And they should not be taxed extra for answering that call. I want to thank, again, President Trump for allowing me to be on this grand stage tonight. And I also want to thank President Trump for signing the Fallen Heroes Act and updating the National Defense Authorization Act. By doing this, you have honored our fallen heroes. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Marla Delane.
Good evening, Mr. President and Rocky Mount. My name is Marla, and I'm a conservative Christian. So a little bit about myself. I'm a wife of 25 years to a wonderful husband and a mother to 4 amazing children. Blessed is an understatement. I've had the privilege of working as a hairstylist for almost 27 years. And when someone is in my chair, we talk politics, we talk real life, we share stories, and we share struggles. And I really enjoy being a part of my clients' lives. Working hard for something we love is called passion. I have a passion for making Rocky Mount prettier, a passion for making the people prettier, and fortunately, I get paid to do that. Our city is full of hairstylists such as myself, restaurant workers, and blue-collar workers that will greatly benefit from the no tax on tips and overtime policy being passed. Every dollar counts, and every dollar helps. For a family size like my husband's and mine, this affords the opportunity for us not to struggle paying bills and allows us to enjoy entertainment that we've not been able to afford in the last 4 years. My city is home, a place that is very special to me, and as a lifelong resident, I want to see it thrive again as it once was. Thanks to President Trump, the American dream is alive once again in Rocky Mount and North Carolina. No tax on tips and overtime will make Rocky Mount great again. So thank you, Rocky Mount, and thank you, President Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage local entrepreneurs Lori and Martin Aragona.
Merry Christmas, Rocky Mount. For 50-something years, I've managed to avoid public speaking. And now here I am, speaking in front of thousands of people before President Trump takes the stage. But what an honor this is. Martin, my husband, and I grew up in Onslow County, home of Camp Lejeune. We've been small business owners and builders since 1997. Nothing affects a construction company more than interest rates and inflation. President Trump had interest rates at 3% during his first term. They went up to 9% under President Biden. But President Trump is working hard to bring them back down again. And we all know that he will. In Onslow County, we have a lot of young first-time home buyers, many of whom are young military families. The Biden interest rates completely price them out of the market, taking away the American dream of owning a home.
But let me mention the good news we received yesterday. The inflation rate is much lower than expected. Does anybody know what it came in at? 2.7%. Yep. Under Biden, the inflation rate reached 9.1%. That's more than 3 times the 2.7 rate. What a difference 10 months makes. And what a difference a new president makes. Here's how inflation affects the cost of a home. Under President Trump's first term, a piece of OSB plywood was $8 a board. Do you know how much it rose to under President Biden? $60 a board. That increase cost, on average, $15,000 more for a home just on the plywood alone. This affects affordability and puts the American dream further out of reach.
In closing, we would also like to thank President Trump for his tariff policies. As builders, we want to build American homes. We want to use American-made products, and we want to buy American lumber. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you. We look forward to a great and prosperous 2026 with lower inflation and lower interest rates. God bless America, and God bless President Trump.
You did great.
And again, we do know the president is expected to deliver remarks. He is heading to Rocky Mount Regional Airport, where this rally is taking place out of North Carolina, just east of Raleigh. He'll be there in about 10 minutes, more or less. We'll be back in 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 8:17, you're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus on a Friday night. President Trump is heading to Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Right now, this rally taking place at the airport there in Rocky Mount. We continue to listen in and wait for the president to arrive on Live Impact News.
Everyday Americans' lives more expensive and more difficult. Y'all remember those day one executive orders? Oh, you remember them? We've implemented here in North Carolina many of them at the state level, including defining the two sexes, male and female. In North Carolina state law, defining them based on biology, not ideology. Now, get this, just to understand how far off the Democrats are. North Carolina Democrats in the state Senate were so afraid of reality, so afraid of biology, so afraid of common sense, and so afraid of defining the two sexes that they actually offered to pay a fine rather than take a vote. Bigger boo than that. And you know who's not afraid to define the two sexes? Donald Trump. North Carolina Republicans also passed major energy reform that followed President Trump's drill, baby, drill energy goals, and drill, baby, drill, and provided an avenue to kickstart nuclear energy production in the United States. Just like President Trump, Republicans in North Carolina, Republicans in the North Carolina legislature are fighting for you and fighting for your families. Again, I'm Phil Berger. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting a return of American greatness. God bless you. God bless North Carolina. God bless America. And God bless President Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage former chairman of the RNC, Michael Watley.
And is it appropriate to say Merry Christmas? I think it is. I think it is. You know, it is so good to have President Trump back here in North Carolina, the only battleground state that he carried in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. I was talking with the president not too long ago. I said, you know, 10 years ago, almost to the day, I got a call from Trump Tower asking me to run North Carolina for his campaign. And I remember the reaction that I got from everybody in my family and everybody in my workplace and my employees and my staff and everybody else when they said, "You're going to do what?" You know, you remember at the time, Donald Trump was 15th out of 15 in the Republican primary, and he had 1% in the polls. And you know why I said yes? Because that man came down the escalator and said he was going to make America great. And it wasn't just a platform. It wasn't just a platitude or a campaign speech. It was a plan. He's going to rebuild our economy. He's going to restore our borders. He's going to make sure that America is respected again. And when we shocked the world and beat Hillary Clinton in 2016, that's exactly what he did. And I never imagined that that call would lead me to getting another call to be the chair of the North Carolina Republican Party in the 2020 election cycle. And another call where he asked me to be the RNC chair and help run his campaign last year. And what a campaign he ran last year. And right now, what we are all living through and we're all witness to is the most transformational national presidential term in our lifetime. Because Donald Trump has gone right back to the basics. He is rebuilding our economy right now. He has restored our borders. 6 months in a row, not one single illegal alien has been caught and released into the United States. And America is absolutely respected again around the world. Now, I was not expecting you to get a call a few weeks ago, but I did. When the president called, he said, you know, Michael, Tom Tillis is not going to be running for re-elect. So here's the deal. You're going to run, and you're going to win, and you're going to do great, so congratulations. And I called my wife, and I told her about that call. She said, you need to stop taking this guy's calls. But I am so excited to be running for Senate here in North Carolina because you need a conservative champion and Donald Trump needs an ally in the Senate. Now, I've got a lot of friends in this room, and I got some folks I haven't met yet. So let me tell you about me. I grew up in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. A tiny little town on the Blue Ridge Parkway, 534 people. I'm a son of the middle class. My dad was an accountant. My mom was the town librarian. I went to church. I played sports. And I worked. I had a paper route. I mowed lawns. I got my first full-time job when I was 14. I paid my way through college. I paid my way through graduate school. I paid my way through law school. North Carolina and America gave me an opportunity to live the American dream, to be a son of the middle class, to be able to have a career, to be able to marry the woman that I love and raise a family with 3 amazing kids. And it also gave me the opportunity to work with the greatest president of our lifetime, Donald J. Trump. Now, I'm running for Senate because I want to fight. I want to fight every single day for you. I want to fight for every family and for every community in this state. We need economic policies that are going to create jobs, raise wages, lower prices. We need to keep our kids and our communities safe. And we need to make sure that our men and women in uniform have what they need to protect our interests at home, overseas, and the interests of our allies. Now, we have an opponent in this race, former Governor Roy Cooper. Now, Roy Cooper has been the governor of this great state. He's been elected for 38 years. This is a man who, over the course of his career, has fought harder for criminals than he did victims. People remember back in 2020, the violent riots with Antifa and BLM burning down our cities, and Roy Cooper out there marching with the protesters. Y'all remember that picture? Yeah, you're going to see it a lot over the next year, let me tell you that. But people don't necessarily remember that he went at that time and signed an executive order to reimagine law enforcement in North Carolina. We don't need to reimagine law enforcement. We need to back the blue, and we need to enforce the law. Roy Cooper created cash bail in North Carolina. He created pretrial release. He created a revolving door that put criminals on the street again and again and again. Everybody remembers Irina Zarotska. Beautiful young lady, escapes Ukraine and moves to Charlotte. She's working in a pizzeria, gets off at 11:30, gets on the wrong light rail car, sits in the wrong seat. And to Carlos Brown Jr., slit her throat. If you haven't seen that video, do not go watch it. It's horrific. DeCarlos Brown should have never been on that light rail car. He should have never been on the streets. He had been arrested and released 14 different times and was out without bail. We do not need Roy Cooper's soft on crime policies in North Carolina. Roy Cooper, who vetoed legislation that would tell sheriffs that they have to honor ICE detainers and move violent criminal illegal aliens out of North Carolina. Roy Cooper, who vetoed legislation to keep boys out of girls' sports and men out of women's locker rooms and woke out of our schools. Roy Cooper, who will fight harder for criminals. He will fight harder for illegal aliens and men who want to play in women's sports than he will for the people of North Carolina. We can do better. Now, I got to tell you, when we talk about Donald Trump and we talk about the economy, let's take a look at what he ran on. He ran on a policy that is going to help our farmers, going to help our manufacturers, going to help our small businesses. He's going to create jobs. He's going to raise wages. He's going to have tax policies and trade policies and regulatory policies that are going to help our farmers, like our tobacco farmers here in Rocky Mount and eastern North Carolina. And we're seeing that positive impact already. 700,000 jobs have been created in the private sector since Donald Trump was first put into office, sworn in on the 20th. Wages are up. Real wages are up 4.5% over year. And we are seeing inflation already coming down. 9% in 2022 and 2023, 30% while Joe Biden was president. It cost twice as much to buy a house in 2024 as it did in 2020 for the same exact house. Donald Trump is fighting every day for you. That's why he's here tonight. And we need to make sure that we are going to welcome him here with open arms. Are we going to be able to do that? So we have an opportunity in America. We have an opportunity in America because of you. Because you stood up and delivered for Donald Trump in 2016. Because you stood up and supported him and delivered North Carolina for him in 2020. You delivered for him in that historic win last year in 2024. And now we need you one more time. Because if the Democrats win the House, if the Democrats win the Senate, we are going to go right back to investigations and hoaxes and impeachments. You see, the Senate race is ultimately about a vote. It's about a vote in the Senate. It's about a vote that Roy Cooper would cast every single time with Chuck Schumer, with Jasmine Crockett, with AOC, with Bernie Sanders, with a woke mob that he is a card-carrying member of. I'm going to cast a vote for the America First agenda. I'm going to cast a vote for you. I'm going to cast a vote for North Carolina. I am running for Senate because I believe that you need a conservative champion and Donald Trump needs an ally in Washington, and I cannot do it without you, and I need your support. So let me start where we finished. It is absolutely fantastic to have the President of the United States, not just the 45th, the 47th President of the United States, right back here in Rocky Mount. And I really hope that all of you and all of North Carolina have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, North Carolina.
All right, folks, what we're going to do here, it looks like they're getting ready for the next speaker. I wouldn't be surprised if it is President Trump. We're going to take a break, but if we do see that the president comes up to the podium, we will come back to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. In the meantime, back in 2 minutes. Back here at 8:36 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, I'm Jane Monreal. We have been listening in here live to a rally taking place in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that's east of Raleigh, where President Trump has landed at the airport, and we saw him get into his car, and they are headed to this rally. So as soon as we see him at the podium and makes remarks on the economy, we will bring that to you. And actually, let's go ahead and dip into this live coverage right now on Live Impact News.
Under Biden, workers lost nearly $3,000 in purchasing power as inflation rose faster than wages. But under Trump, inflation just hit its lowest, 2.7% since the spring of 2021, and real wages have increased by over $1,000 in his first full year back in office. That's a $4,000 delta the president had to make up for the nonsense of the Biden administration. And as a mom of twin girls and a new grandmother, I know just how important those dollars are to the working families of this country. Trump's deregulatory efforts are saving $2,100 for a family of 4. And under my direction, at the Labor Department, we have rescinded the discriminatory DEI requirements that will lower compliance costs of up to $1 billion a year. That is what we are saving American employers in this country. And let's not forget the largest tax cut in American history, with no tax on tips, overtime, or Social Security. I served in Congress, and I can tell you this, that was the biggest piece of legislation that my colleagues would ever vote on probably in history, and it's for the American people. Thanks to the working family tax cut, a family of 4 in North Carolina will see about $7,000 to $10,000 back in their pockets and more in their take-home pay. You get to keep the money that you've earned and that you deserve, not give it to the federal government. We just heard from Jason and Marla about how much this will mean to them, and thank you for sharing your stories. And I also want to give a shout out to Jason, who spoke on behalf of the International Firefighters Association. The men and women and our law enforcement and all of our detail are here. Give them a round of applause, and for our veterans, because they protect this country. We are finally reversing Biden's cost of living disaster that have hurt so many working families. We are going to create more mortgage-paying jobs. President Trump is focused on making America dominant in the manufacturing space, again, to help our communities thrive. You know, I have worked under this president for the last year as the labor secretary with all the secretaries. He is a master negotiator. I can tell you that. You see him in the Oval Office. He's the most transparent president we've ever had. And every cabinet meeting is on TV for the American people to see. We're putting American interests first on striking the new trade deals to restore the U.S. as the world's manufacturing superpower. More than $18 trillion in investments will bring hundreds of thousands of new jobs to this country. Made in America is back. U.S. exports are up, and our trade deficit shrank by more than 35% over this last year. This administration is finally leveling the playing field for the American workers, manufacturers, creating an economy that works for you, not against you. It is time for the federal government to be your ally, not your adversary. As we look ahead to 2026, the Labor Department will keep President Trump's promise to put American workers first. We are investing in skill training and educational pathways to help American workers get a foot in the door without needing a costly 4-year degree. You know that the future of this country won't be forged in the halls of these woke universities. It will be built by the hands of our skilled workers.
That's why President Trump set a goal for me through an executive order, 1 million active apprentices across this country, and since January, we have registered more than 300,000 new apprentices and over 2,300 new apprenticeship programs. I'm also working closely with Secretary McMahon to dismantle the federal bureaucracy that has failed our students at every single turn. Do you know that nearly 70% of 4th and 8th graders aren't proficient in reading? The current top-down structure is no longer working, and we're returning the power back to where it belongs. We're going to empower parents, and we're going to empower the states to educate their kids so that they can go out and get the job that they want. By creating a streamlined federal education and workforce system, we are bridging the gap between post-secondary education and the labor market to address the shortages and fill those mortgage-paying jobs. You know, as I wrap up here, I want to first wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year with your families. It's truly an honor to fight for you and defend your shot at the American dream. No matter your background or industry, President Trump's Department of Labor has your back. I think about you all on this issue. He is, without a doubt, the greatest president in my lifetime, and I know that he's the greatest president in your lifetime. The American worker has no greater friend or ally than President Donald J. Trump. And as we head into 2026, I promise you this, we're going to keep up the momentum. We're going to make your lives affordable again. We will double down on the efforts to put American workers first and build the golden age of economic prosperity. Thank you all for welcoming me to your homes, and I wish you again Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's an honor to serve in this administration.
He loves his wife, she's that wife.
sing. You broke my will, but what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. You came along and moved me, honey. I changed my mind. This world is fine. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Kiss me, baby. Feels good. Hold me, baby. Well, I want to love you like I love the shit.
All right, with that music break, we are also going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. I want to let you know that coming up at 9 o'clock in 11 minutes, we are going to carry here on the primary channel on your app a conversation, a special edition of Panthers on the Plus with our Danielle Stein, who will be here in the studio. She and I, we're going to talk ball, man, because the Panthers, they're in it. They're in it to win it. And the NFC South, we're part of the conversation. So with that kind of being cool, we're just going to bring you special coverage. Danielle had some great interviews as well. And so she will be coming up here in 10 minutes. In the meantime, because President Trump is also here in North Carolina and is expected to speak as we await his comments at Rocky Mount Wilson Regional Airport, just east of Raleigh. He will be speaking. If that sort of crosses over into our 9 o'clock range, we will bring that to you and continue to carry it on our secondary channel. So you have two live feeds here on WCNC Plus. Panthers on the Plus, 9 o'clock here on the mainstream, and then on the secondary channel, it is President Trump. We saw him land in Air Force One there on the tarmac of the airport, and so they should be rolling up to the scene here, this rally that's underway, talking about the economy as soon as possible. As soon as we see the president, of course, we will bring that to you. In the meantime, North Carolina Dems spoke. They held a press conference earlier today, a little bit of a rally. Let's play this for you now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Serve as the Coalitions and Community Engagement Director for the North Carolina Democratic Party. Here's what we know. We know that Eastern North Carolina was a Democratic stronghold for 120 years in our state. And we know Donald Trump knows that. And we know Michael Whatley knows that. We know that as we go into next year, fighting for Eastern North Carolina, fighting for folks across our state is going to be critical. And that's something Roy Cooper has shown he's been able to do since 1986 when he's led this state. Folks, the work we have to do is to show up for communities, to fight for them, and remind folks that Donald Trump does not speak for Eastern North Carolina or for this state, and neither does D.C. insider lobbyist Michael Whatley. Folks, what we know going into today is they're going to say things about Governor Cooper that's not true. What we know is they're going to say things that the folks across North Carolina know to be untrue, as they voted for Roy Cooper every election in North Carolina since 1986. We know that. We know they're going to say things that are divisive, untrue, and harmful, and we know Donald Trump is not fighting for the people of North Carolina. Folks, we saw just the other day that Donald Trump continues to say things that cause harm and division, and we need a person in our U.S. Senate who will provide loyalty and growth and continuity of care and services, and that's why, folks, we're excited to vote for Roy Cooper, and why Michael Whatley will cause harm and is not good for the folks of our state. Folks, I want to introduce you now to Chair Anderson Clayton of the North Carolina Democratic Party. We're excited to have her. Thank y'all so much for being here this morning.
Dorian is from rural western North Carolina, but has been all over eastern North Carolina with the state party as we have traveled throughout the state over the last 3 years, making the case and also trying to rebuild our party in places of the state that oftentimes have been forgotten even by the people that currently represent it. But good morning, and thank y'all for being here today. I deeply appreciate it. Donald Trump is coming to North Carolina tonight to lie and say that costs and the economy are great right now. And if you're somebody who's just had to go to a grocery store recently, you know that's not true. Costs aren't down, and Trump and D.C. Republicans are making life less affordable than ever, especially for people here in North Carolina and especially people in eastern North Carolina. North Carolina families are facing skyrocketing costs because Republicans have created a health care crisis and refuse to fix it. They've gutted Medicaid. They put 5 rural hospitals in North Carolina at risk of closing already. They continue to refuse to extend the ACA tax credits, which means that on January 1st, every single person across North Carolina is going to see their health insurance costs skyrocket. We couldn't understand a North Carolina that doesn't prioritize health care and education in it, especially after yesterday when we just saw a North Carolina legend unfortunately pass away. Governor Jim Hunt was a legacy in North Carolina, somebody that stood up for the fact that no matter what your zip code is, you deserve to have the opportunity and the access to health care and to education. And what we've seen from Republicans in North Carolina and from a Donald Trump administration is an administration that's willing to destroy and demise the social safety net that has kept so many people across North Carolina not only in this state, but able to thrive in this state. In 2026, we're going to elect a U.S. Senator. And who we choose to elect could be the difference between affordable health care or medical debt, between cheaper groceries or going hungry, and between a champion who will fight for North Carolina or for a D.C. insider that's handpicked by Republicans who's also going to face a primary himself, because even the grassroots know that Donald Trump handpicked Michael Whatley for this seat. And you might have heard of that D.C. insider. He's pushing the same agenda that is hurting North Carolina families across this state. Michael Whatley supports gutting Medicaid for hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians, calling it a huge win, saying that he would have voted for it in a heartbeat if he had been our U.S. Senator. And we know that right now, Tom Tillis, the reason why he's not running for re-election is because he was faced with that hard choice of having to say 600,000 people across North Carolina immediately deserve to have that health care access revoked that Governor Cooper fought so hard to get in a bipartisan deal, right, for decades across this state. Whatley has called for the repeal of the ACA, and now he supports the Republicans refusing to extend the ACA tax credits in D.C., making health care less affordable for people across this state. And tonight, Michael Whatley is welcoming those same D.C. politicians that people across North Carolina, to me, seem pretty fed up from, inviting them back to our state with open arms, rubbing it in the face of families who can no longer afford their health care, or having to look at their children who rely on Medicare right now and Medicaid right now, and asking them what they're going to do. And Whatley wants us to elect him to the United States Senate. Thank you, North Carolina. If we know one thing It's that Whatley will always side with D.C. politicians to hurt working families and make life more expensive. And after all, that's what he spent his entire career doing. Whatley is a lifelong D.C. political hack, a big oil lobbyist who has spent his career putting billionaires and special interests ahead of families across the United States, not just in North Carolina. We deserve leaders who will lower health care costs and make it easier for North Carolina families to get ahead. Governor Cooper has spent his life delivering for working families, and as governor, he made it his mission to expand Medicaid to the nearly 700,000 North Carolinians who are at risk of still losing their health insurance. And at a time when we're in the middle of a health care crisis, when families can't afford coverage, we need leaders like Roy Cooper.
Hi, everyone. We are going to let you go from this main channel to the secondary channel. President Trump arriving to the rally taking place in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Join us here for Panthers on the Plus, coming up with Danielle Stein at 9 o'clock. Both of them live feeds here on WCNC Plus. Thanks for joining us.
Let's go to North Carolina. We want to go to North Carolina. Thank you very much for your appreciation. There's never been anything like this. You know, you say, let's go to North Carolina and get this great crowd. I'm psycho people. That's crazy. We're having a great time. And you know these ladies right here? They've been to, I think, over 200 rallies, but I'm not going to say. And this time I made it easy because they come from North Carolina. They didn't have to travel. Today they traveled about a half an hour, right? Isn't that nuts? Instead of traveling all over the country. They're unbelievable. And you look better than you've ever looked, and I'm not allowed to say that. You know, if you say that, if you say a woman looks beautiful, which you do, it's the end of your political career. But I don't care. You look beautiful. Well, I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with so many proud, hard-working American patriots, which is what you are. Let me begin by wishing each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas. Remember, they didn't want to say Merry Christmas when I first started. 2016, we don't want to say Merry Christmas. They said, I said, no, we're going to bring back Christmas. And they don't say that anymore. They don't want to say it, but they don't talk about it anymore because they got shellacked. We're here tonight to celebrate 11 incredible months. It's been the most successful first year of any president in the history of our country. It has been, isn't that a big statement? But it's a statement that you read all over the place. I mean, who could have done better? I don't think anybody could have done better. Than us, not me, than us. We're in this together. Since my inauguration, we've created more than 53,000 North Carolina jobs, including 8,000 North Carolina construction jobs. More than 150,000 North Carolina residents have been lifted off of food stamps. They're very happy about that. And after your horrible hurricane, which produced more water damage than any hurricane in history, the Democrats let you down. They really did. Remember, they wouldn't do anything. Remember? They wouldn't go to your community. They wouldn't do anything. You had to wait till January 20th when I took office that we really knocked the hell out of it. Remember? As soon as I took office, I got in on January 20th, and first thing I did was make North Carolina phone calls, and we did a hell of a job. Did a hell of a job. You'd still be sitting in the mud if I didn't get elected. You wouldn't be. People were sitting in the mud. But I helped rebuild your state, and I didn't get any help from the Democrats, not your governor, not your man that's running, by the way, for Senate against Michael Whatley, who's phenomenal. Michael Whatley is your governor. Your previous governor was a disaster. He's also a radical left person, by the way. He's radical left. You don't want him. He doesn't represent you. You just... And look at the crime. Look at what's going on with all the crime here. The slitting throats and stuff. I never saw that with you. Now all of a sudden that's what we see. You got to get Michael Whatley. It's going to be so important. He was so great. Don't forget, I took Michael and I put him as the head of the party because he did so great. We won the state all 3 times, and it was like a rock. He didn't allow cheating in the second time. I watched all these states, boom, boom, were leading. People went to sleep, it was over. Then they dropped ballots, they cheated like hell. The only good thing is, this is a far better term than it would have been had I done it the more traditional way. It really is. It's a more powerful term. It's a more powerful term, and the biggest news of all is yesterday, it was announced that inflation is far lower than anybody expected. I told you. Beating every one of the 61 forecasts from the so-called geniuses, the experts. We're the geniuses, not them. We now have the lowest core inflation since March of 2021, and we're just getting started. It's unbelievable. And that's despite taking in billions and billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. Remember they said all the tariffs will cause inflation. Just came out with the best inflation report we've had in years. And lots of cash, too. In fact, 1776, right? $1,776 goes to our military. You know, it was 1,775. And that was the number, you know, that was just a lump. I said, you know, if we had $1, we got 1776. Somebody said, that's genius. I said, well, I'm smart. I said, for $1, and I'll get these ladies who are loaded with money to pay for it from North Carolina. Their husbands can write a check in 2 seconds, take care of it. Now think of it, for $1 more, they said, I can't believe we didn't think of that. Only hours ago, I left a meeting at the White House where we cut the cost of prescription drugs by 300, 400, 500, and even 600%. And I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done before, standing up to the special interests and demanding lower prices for the American people. This is what we're doing. You know, it's called favored nations. And nations all over the world were screwing us. We would have prices that were 10 times higher than the prices they were charging in London, in Paris, and all over the world. We had the highest prices for drugs because we had politicians that wouldn't. I did it in the beginning, at the first, but then we had a thing called, you know what happened, COVID? And it was sort of hard to go after France and Italy, say, listen, on top of all your COVID all over the place with everyone dying, we want you to pay a lot of money for drugs. You can't do it. But we did it, and nobody's ever even thought of doing it before. I've negotiated and really did it directly with 17 of the world's largest drug companies, as well as foreign nations that were taking advantage of your country for decades. many decades. For years, Americans have been paying the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by far, 10 times more sometimes, 15 times more, while other countries pay drastically less for the exact same drug made in the exact same plant, in the exact same country. But under my most favored nation, you know what that means? It's a legal term. Drug pricing executive order, I just signed a couple of months ago, and it's now being implemented. We have declared that the United States will now pay the same price as the lowest price of any country anywhere in the world. And we should honestly, this is the biggest thing to happen in medicine, I think, since the founding of our country. You know, I don't mind. They actually have a great location. You know, we've had people that look so good behind me that some of them went to Hollywood and actually, you know. See, they may have a better location, but nobody's going to Hollywood. They can only see the back of your head. Look at all the television. Look at all those cameras. It's crazy. But we did something nobody's ever done before. Nobody's tried. Nobody thought they could do it. Don't forget, the drug companies turned out to really do the right thing. They really did. And they were there at the White House today. So some of the biggest companies in the world were there. The rest of them are coming next week. But the big problem was foreign countries. They would have to take their drug and raise it from $10 to $20 to $30, maybe to $100, maybe 10 times more, but it really doesn't work that way because the world is a bigger place than the U.S. And so you're not going to have to raise it that much, but you have to raise it. And they always said for 50 years, they said, let the United States pay. And for 50 years, the United States got screwed because we're paying so much more. Drug that was selling for $10 in London sells for $130. That's 13 times more in New York. 13 times more, so $10 in London, $130 in New York. And now that drug will go up for the other country from $10 to only $20 or maybe $30. And it will come down from the United States of America to $20 from $130. Think of that. Think of that. That's the biggest price reduction. When you talk about cutting prices, cutting costs, cutting prices, you talk about affordability. You know, the Democrats, they're the ones that got us into the mess. They're the ones that caused the high prices. And then they come out and they look at those fake news people back there. This election's about affordability. They go, let's talk about it. No, I'd rather not talk about it. Because they can't. They're the ones that caused the highest inflation in the history of our country, which led to the highest prices in the history of our country. I inherited the mess. I got the prices down, and they're going down still further. Look at gasoline. A lot of areas now in our country, $1.99 a gallon. It cost these ladies from these beautiful friends of mine from North Carolina, it cost them like 1/3 to get here than it would have cost under Sleepy Joe Biden. Right? If you drive, this time you can drive. This first time you didn't have to take an airplane. But we had 9 blockbuster agreements. We had 9 of them with the big drug companies just today. The rest are coming over the next couple of weeks. But the first dramatic drug discounts will be available to all Americans starting in January at a thing called TrumpRx.gov. TrumpRx.gov. But this is the biggest thing ever to happen on drug prices, pharmaceutical prices. It will also tremendously it's going to reduce the cost of healthcare because healthcare is probably 50% of our drugs. Right? The drugs are coming down at levels that nobody ever thought was possible. This achievement alone should win us the midterms. You know, if we did nothing else, I said today, you know, you're talking about like this massive reduction in drug prices that affects everybody. Older people, younger people, middle-aged people, sick people, well people. It's not just my patients, it's everybody. It could never happen. Nobody would ever have done this. It was very hard to do. I had countries laughing at me. I said, listen, you're going to have to double and triple your drug prices. They said France, as an example, UK, European Union. They said, you must be kidding. They've had low prices for years. The drug companies would go, can you pay more? No, no, charging. They wanted the drug companies, in all fairness, to charge the United States of America. And they made up all sorts of crap. Well, research and development. They said, well, what about research and development? Why aren't they paying also for research? Well, it just never worked that way. They used to use, remember, research and development, that's why we pay more. I say 12 times more for research and development. It was all a con job. But I'd say the head of France, as an example, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to double or triple your prices for drugs. No, 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 we will not do that. Oh, yes, you will. I said, yes, you will. No, no, no. We will not do that. Of course we will not. I can't do that. I said, yes, you will. No, I won't. Yes, you will. And he said, why do you have such certainty? I said, because if you don't do it, I'm going to charge you a 25% tariff on everything you sell into America. Because that was really the sticking point. They just wouldn't do it. They told the drug companies for years, we're not doing it. We're keeping that pill at $10. We're not going to raise it. And the drug companies said, well, you know, it's unfair. I mean, they're paying 10 times more, sometimes 15 times more. That's okay, let them pay more. We're not paying more than the prices were stuck for years. And no president did anything about it. Sleepy Joe Biden didn't know he was alive. The last thing he cared about. The last thing he cared about was this. He didn't care about anything. Just wanted to make it through. But they cheated it. Look, he was surrounded by radical left. Hey, did you see on Mar-a-Lago, did you see how corrupt that was? No, it's all coming out. It's all coming out. Some life. It's all come out. They were totally corrupt, radical left lunatics. Not stupid people, by the way, he was, but the people that really ran the country and that really ran the auto pen, they were not stupid. But think about what we've done. Under the Trump administration, America will not be ripped off any longer. So can you imagine these countries? And when I told you the example before, from $10 to $20, you know, that doesn't sound like much, but it's a doubling of the price. You know, that's a doubling of the price. And if it went to 30 or 35 or 40, you know, that's still a doubling, tripling, or quadrupling of the price. But I said, at 25% tariff, it's much more money than what you're talking about. So they would say to me, all countries, you know, obviously they said no at the beginning, and they would have told a normal president no, and that would have been the end of the conversation. So they said no to me, and I said, no, you do it, 100%. And they said, what's wrong with this? 100%. I said, 100% that you're going to do it. The one asked me, why are you so certain? Why would you say that I would quadruple the price of drugs in France or someplace? I said, because if you don't, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff. That tariff is worth 5 times more money than you're talking about. And there was dead silence on the phone. And then when the gentleman, Emmanuel, is a wonderful guy, when he spoke, he said, you have a deal. He's a nice guy, too. But you can't blame him. You know, it's been 40, 50 years. You can't blame him. But it was the same conversation with everybody. No, we can't do that. No, I cannot double the price of my drugs. I said, no, maybe triple or quadruple. But it's still much lower than we were paying. You know, we were paying a number that was crazy, 13, 14 times. As president, I'm also taking in the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of government subsidies. And I want the money to go directly to the people I want the money to be paid directly to the people so that they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. By the way, what I told you about buying the drugs at this massive dollar discount, it's like from where it is, that's going to have a huge impact on the cost of health care. The current Unaffordable Care Act, commonly known as Barack Hussein Obamacare, was created to make insurance companies rich. Yeah. It was bad health care at much too high a cost, and you see now that the steep increase in premiums is being demanded by the Democrats. It was never any good, Obamacare. It was done for the benefit of insurance companies, which totally control the Democrats. That's why you could have a strike on January 30th. You could have another shutdown, because the Democrats are totally in the hands of, they're totally controlled by the insurance companies, big wealthy companies. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care, and you'll get much better health care at a much lower price. And the only losers will be the insurance companies that have gotten rich. How about these companies? Some of them have gone up 1,400%, their stock prices. One, I think, went up 1,700%. How many people have ever bought a stock that went up 1,700%? And think of it. They've taken in billions and billions of dollars, and the Democrat Party is also just, it's, look, I don't know what they're going to do, because I don't know how anybody beats us when we say that we want the money to go to the people so you can buy your own health care. How can it ever be better than that? I wanted to do that at the beginning in 2016, but the politicians told me, sir, I was a little bit inexperienced. I've never done this before. Now I'm quite experienced. I've seen things that nobody would have thought possible. But I said, why do we have this crazy Obamacare, or as we call it, the unaffordable? Isn't that a great name, the Affordable Care Act? I call it the Unaffordable Care Act. I should get credit. That's a good one. What's better, that or fake news? That or Pocahontas? That? I can't use the names that I used on the Republicans to gain access to the election. But we had some good names, didn't we? But I think the Unaffordable Care Act is pretty good. The UCA, right? They keep talking about the ACA. Think of that. Instead of the ACA, we go with the UCA. The UCA, they say, what is that? The Unaffordable Care Act? It is unaffordable. But it was always no good. But now it's really gone. With time, it gets worse. Now it's going to be hit big. Remember, I didn't do this. This is Obamacare. This is Obamacare. This isn't Trump. But you don't need it, because let the money not go to the insurance companies. The problem is the Democrats will shut down the government because they are totally beholden. I don't love that word, but they're beholden. They're beholden to the insurance companies. So I don't know what they can do about it, but that probably goes down the government. It's so simple. The money should go to the people. The people should then take all of this money and buy the best health care there is. And there'll be a lot of money left over. Right? But they'll not be happy. But that's okay with me, because you, the hardworking citizens, and finally you're going to have great health care at the right price, so you're going to have it. Although today I did suggest one thing, because when I was watching these big drug companies get up and talk about things, that were giving free medicine, they couldn't have been nicer, they couldn't have been better, and they were giving us a hard time a while ago, but it worked out good. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call these insurance companies fat cats. They are fat cats. I'm going to call the insurance companies, and I'm going to set up a meeting with them, all of them, and maybe I'll have the same luck that we had with the health companies, with the pharmaceuticals and the drug companies that we had. So rather than just saying we're not going to deal, maybe they'll give us a deal, like cut the price by 50%, then maybe that makes sense. So I'm going to meet with them. Who knows? Who knows? And I'll either meet in Florida. I'm going to Florida. I'll either meet in Florida because I work all the time. So I'll either meet in Florida or I'll meet in Washington the first week right after we all come back to going to our wonderful jobs. And I'll sit down with, it's like 12, 13 people. You know, it's basically these big monster companies. 13, 14 if I want to be generous. Get 14 people in a room, let's see what happens. Maybe they'll surprise us, but maybe we'll ask them for a 50% cut. And maybe they'll give it. You know, you never know. You saw what happened with the drug companies. They want to give, they're giving free drugs. I mean, they've been unbelievable. But they do love our country. And I probably think the insurance company guys love our country. They just thought they were dealing with stupid people, so you can't really blame them. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in the history of our country. That's true. And there's never been anything like it. When I took office last January, I inherited a mess, and very simply, I'm fixing it. Joe Biden gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. A lot of people say, you know, the fake news says, it's not the worst in history. It's the worst in 48 years. Oh, okay. No, they do. They say 48 years is okay. But when I say history, they go crazy. That's when I let them win. I say, I'm sorry, I apologize. I like that hat, 47. It's nice, actually. Beautiful, nice thread, gold thread. I watched that myself. I want gold thread, not mustard colored, you know? No, they give you, a lot of times they say you're mustard colored. It costs them a lot less. We don't accept those hats. When you have a mustard colored thread, don't accept it. But it caused the prices to be higher than ever before, making it really life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. Our border was open, and our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people. Many came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. You know the difference between a prison and a jail? A prison's more severe. Right? You know the difference between a mental institution and an insane asylum? An insane asylum is more severe. They came from both. They were drug dealers, gang members, and over 13,000 murderers, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. Think of that, they killed more than one. A lot of them said, oh, I didn't mean, but you know, when you kill more than one, get them the hell out of our country. How about that incident with that horrible monster that killed the young, beautiful girl from Ukraine, an animal? And to think we're having trials for years, and you get some nice little lawyer, and you say, oh, well, he had a bad day. Yeah, he had a bad day. He slit her throat. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels, the worst trade deals ever made. And our country was laughed at from all over the world, but they're not laughing anymore. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world because we finally have a president who puts America first. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices on everything at unprecedented levels. How about the new thing in Minnesota with the Somalians? They stole, now it came out, the great U.S. attorney up there, they came out, think of this, $9 billion, and they think that's just the beginning. They stole, think of it. In their country, they live on nothing, they have nothing. They come here and they steal $9 billion. Are we stupid? I mean, how do we allow that to happen? Ilhan Omar, should be sent out of our country. She should not be allowed to be a congresswoman. She married her brother either to stay or to get him into the country. And yesterday she, I guess, made up a story. She said the police attacked her son. They stopped the car and the police said, we never attacked him, we never stopped him. It was a made-up story. She's a con person, she's full of con. She says, zero. She said, you ought to get her the hell out of our country. That's what you ought to do. She made up a story that the police stopped her son's car and they harassed the hell out of her. It turned out to be a fake story. There was no stoppage of his car. And there was no harassment. But think of that, in Minnesota, this beautiful place, once beautiful, I don't call it beautiful, you got a governor who's a stupid person, and a corrupt. He's corrupt and stupid. But he allowed this to go on. He allowed this to go on. Everybody knew what was going on. But what nobody knew is over $9 billion. And the people of Minnesota are not happy. And you know who's running for governor? Mike Lindell. Do we like Mike Lindell? That man suffered. That man suffered. What he did, what he went through because he knew the election was rigged. And he did it, he just did it as a citizen. Mike Lindell, I'll tell you what, every time I introduced him, he got the biggest hand. I hope he does great. He deserves to do great. That man suffered. These people went after him. They went after his company. They did that with me too, but at least I knew what I was getting into. He was just a guy that said, geez, this election was so crooked, it was so rigged. He fought like hell. That guy deserves to be governor of Minnesota, I'll tell you that. He's a great guy, too. But I'm bringing the prices down, and I'm bringing them down fast, you know that? As I saw the other day, and as I showed to people the other day, I made a speech. It was very well received. You know, we had one problem. I put up these gorgeous charts, and it says chart. And I'm, sort of talking about the chart. You're reading into a piece of glass. I got no audience. I got just people, very hostile people waiting around. And I'm reading into a piece of glass for 22 minutes, and I talk about the chart. The networks didn't put up the charts. Only Fox put up the charts. Fox put them up, in all fairness. And we get angry at Fox after they put up the charts, and you can start putting them up now if you want, but we put up these beautiful charts that were very... Look at them. But I very much like the chart from Butler, PA. I like that much better. That's my all-time favorite chart. You know, that's a great chart. They're all great charts, but I never like a chart like that chart I put up in Butler. Just take a look at the chart right here. That was a good chart. I love that chart so much. I sleep with that chart. But this is okay. There'll never be a great chart for me. It's only the one. Compared to Butler, all charts stink. But look at that chart. Look at the kind of Biden price increases and Trump price increases. Look at that. They're all Biden. We're bringing the prices down. Look at that chart. NBC and CBS and ABC fake news. They're fake news. Oops, that camera just went off. Sorry about that. Every time I mention that, their camera, you see the red light back there being, you say, go on. ABC fake news. I think ABC's the worst. Believe it or not, George Slopadopoulous, he paid me about $16 million. Yeah, George Slopadopoulous. I heard Chris Christie lost his job. They fired Chris Christie. And they have a great young woman taking his place who happens to be Hispanic and happens to be phenomenal. She's going to do a great job. But they fired Chris Christie. I guess you know why? He wanted to eat all the time. No, they fired him. He was bad news. But I'd say ABC is the worst of the networks. I would then say NBC is horrible. I mean, just horrible. They had this guy on this fake guy, the fake senator. I call him the fake senator from a place called Georgia, right? And he was talking about all the, things. He said he's a church leader. It's funny, if you go in as a church leader, they talk about church and state, right? He's allowed to talk about it. He said, I'm going back to my church and I'm going to pray this morning. I'm going to talk about all these issues. If Republicans, they start screaming church and state, they don't scream. But NBC's really bad. And CBS, I love the new owners of CBS. Something happens to them, though. 60 Minutes has treated me worse under the new ownership than they just keep treating me. They just keep hitting me. It's crazy. And then you have Marjorie Trader Brown, I call her, because green turns to brown under stress. So I call her Trader Brown, which I don't like doing because 2 words is too much. 2 out of 3. We're changing to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm going Marjorie Trader Brown, so I have to change. And a lot of people don't understand 2 words is too much to change. I actually like Marjorie Taylor Brown better, but everyone says Marjorie Trader Greene is good, but they're all good. But what the hell happened to her? She must have been a stone cold liberal. She's on CNN now all the time. Can you believe it? And it was only because I couldn't call her back. I have 218, 19 and changes, but we have 200 and some odd congressmen and women. I have 53 senators. I have 212 countries. I've got a family. I should talk to my family too. You can't call a president every single day, and then when the president doesn't call you back, she goes around saying, he doesn't call me back. I said, Marjorie, I can't call you back. I got 2. I said, Marjorie, I just can't call you back. I'm sorry. And I wouldn't call her back, and she goes onto a rant. He won't call me back anymore. Sorry about that. You can only go so far. Once a month, once every week or 2 weeks, but you can't get her highly neurotic. Her, not me, but I'm neurotic too. I think I'm probably very neurotic too. I always say controlled neuroses is good. Being neurotic, no good, but if it's controlled, that's okay. It gives you some energy. But what the hell happened to Marjorie Trader Greene? It's unbelievable, but she dropped out because I wasn't going to endorse her, and the person I would have endorsed was going to kill her in the polls. So she dropped out. And then they talk about how brave she is. Brave would be to stay. And, it's one of those things. But she dropped out. I can't believe it that people can change so much. But you can't go from being a strong conservative to a stone-cold liberal unless you align. You can't do that. You can stop liking somebody. Or you can say, I don't know, she's fake. Look, front row Joe, what are you doing in the second row? What happened? Well, you're in the front row. It's front row Joe. I don't know who's been there, the front row Joes or you? It's pretty close. Very different types. Would you stand up, please, in the front row? Just stand up. Look at these women. Look. How incredible they are. Right? Even front row Joes will admit they're very great, right? Look how beautiful they are. People like you built our country. You built our country. And that's why we love you. We built our country. The people in this room built our country. Under Sleepy Joe Biden, car prices, gasoline prices, hotel rates, airfare, and more went up 30 to 75%. Now they're all coming down. We're all coming down. Take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful to look? The same is true with groceries. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down by 33% compared to Sleepy Joe's high-priced era. Don't forget, when you have the highest inflation in history and or 48 years, do we think and look, in terms of a speech, I think 48 years is the equivalent of history. Do we agree? Can we say? Because they had a piece on me today, one of these fake newspapers, which are all dying, they're all gone bankrupt, thank God. But they're the worst. That I misrepresented by saying history. It's actually 48 years. And I said, that's not a bad misrepresentation, I don't think. The price of eggs is down 82% since March. Do you remember, there the people are, do you remember, fake news, do you remember when I just got elected? It was a big thing. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. We won by like 312 to 200 and something, and like low 200. And we won everything. We won districts, the word district. We won districts by 2,750 to 525. That's a slaughter. And that's the thing when you see everything's red except the two little lines on the left and the right, meaning New York and California. That's the one that really is incredible. 2,750 to 525. We won everything in a slaughter. We won everything. And what a great thing it was, right? When you can have an election that good. And they tried to rig it. Remember we had the thing? Too big to rig. Remember this thing? That was a big thing. They tried like hell. They gave up at about 9:02. It was too big. It was just a landslide. They couldn't do it. They cheated a lot. But we made it too big to rig, and I appreciate you getting it. I said, the polls had us up, pretty way up. And a lot of times when that happens, you'll say, let's go out and watch a movie, and we'll come back and watch the president win. No, I said, don't watch a movie, go out and vote. But it was too big, so it came back. What an evening. That was, what was better, 2016 or 2024? Tell me. I don't know. 2016 was pretty monumental. What was better? I don't know. Beating Hillary was fun. Well, Hillary has a much higher IQ than Kamala. I would say, I think Hillary has probably 50 or 60 points higher. Now, Hillary was smart. She was nasty. Whew, I wouldn't want to go home to her. She was nasty. Remember, she was a nasty person. I was going to use the B word. I said, no. My wife would not be happy. My wife always says, please, please don't use foul language. You know who else does? Franklin Graham. He says, President, he says, I love your speaking ability, President. You're a great speaker. Although nobody says it. You know, I get these big crowds, but did you ever see the press do a story that I'm a great speaker? They say, oh, he looked tired. Oh, he's this, oh, he's that. You know, I mean, it's crazy. I get crowds, the biggest crowds in history of anything, not only of anything. They never say, he gave a great speech tonight in front of 45,000 people. Look at some of the crowds that we get, are the biggest crowds ever. Before the election, we're getting 80, we had 117,000 people show up in New Jersey. It was a great speech. You know what they said? He looked tired. You can't be tired in front of 117,000 people. It's not possible. Got a lot of adrenaline. The adrenaline is pumping, right? But that's why they're fake news. That's why nobody listens to them anymore. But remember that we slashed the yearly cost of new mortgages by $3,000. Look at the mortgage chart. We slashed it. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, boy. Look at how much you made with me and lost with that sleepy guy. But everything now is falling, and the only things that are going up are your salaries, the stock market, and your 401ks. They're going up. Do you remember when I first won in 2024, and I was at my first conference? I'm 2 days in. You know, we're recovering from all the hoopla. 2 days in. In fact, I took a day off. They said, something's wrong with the president. I just got here. There's nothing wrong with me. Something's wrong. You took a day off. What's wrong with the president, right? Every time, do you remember when I had 28 news conferences in a row over 28 days? Sometimes I gave 2 or 3 in one day. And then I took my beautiful Kai, my beautiful granddaughter, who's a very good golfer. I took her to play golf one morning, and I was in the office very quickly. Something's wrong with the president. Do you remember the rumor was that I had passed away? Do you remember? I won 28 days in a row. I took the kid to play golf. And we played very fast. She's good. I'm a very good golfer. And we played very fast. We played in 2 hours. We did it. I mean, I said, baby, I gotta get out of here. I'm sorry, honey. Enjoy your day. Go hit balls or something. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to work. And I got a call. A friend of mine, oh, you're okay? And I said, yeah, what's wrong? I said, I'll be back in the Oval Office in 30 minutes. Oh, I said, what's wrong with this guy? Then I got another call. Oh, you're okay. They said that I had passed away. Do you remember that? First day in 28 days, these people are sick. That's why I've taken more physicals, because I think you have an obligation to, report. And I hate when they put out false reports. So they put out a report that Donald Trump. So I took a lot of physicals. And I did something no other president's ever done. I took cognitive tests. Because I know that, and by the way, not easy. You get to those last questions, those last 10, 15 questions, those are, nobody on that stand could answer properly. And I got them, I aced them. And no other president's taken a card. Could you imagine Sleepy Joe taking a card? I don't think he'd get the first, the first question is like, what is this? And they show a lion, a giraffe, a fish, and a hippopotamus, right? And they say, which is the giraffe? So that's the only question. But what happens is it then gets harder. I don't think Joe would have gotten the first question right. He would say hippo. I want the hippo. But anyway, I've taken now 3 cognitive tests. I've aced every single one of them. And these are big stuff. This is Walter Reed. I've got a whole team of doctors all over the place. And you get them wrong. I said, what do you think? Should I do it? He said, well, here's the good news. The good news, if you do well, that's great. Actually, if you do well, they won't report it. If you do badly, it's already in history. He said, it's possible that if you do badly, the word will leak out. And you look very bad. I said, this was on my first test. After that, I knew that I can do very well. Smart person. So what happens is first test, I said, how hard is it? He said, well, after the 10th or 12th question, it gets very hard. And I said, well, what do you think? They said, look, if you can do well, but if you're not going to do well, it's probable that the word will get out. I said, well, let's do it anyway. And I did it, and it was actually good. For a year, they called me a very intelligent person, but then they forget. Then I did it again. They aced it again. They reported. And these are doctors that I don't even know. And they reported. And then I did it a third time a few months ago, and they reported. But it's very small reporting. But can you imagine if I did badly, right? Can you imagine that, front row Joe? Would I be in trouble? They'd say, there's something wrong. But I like to do it. But I had perfect health. And they reported his health is perfect. And they interpret that. And the fake news interprets when a doctor says he's got perfect health, they go, what does he mean by perfect? There's something wrong with the president. These people are sick. Now, there will be a time when perhaps it won't be 100% true with all of us, right? And when that time comes, I will let you know about it. In fact, you'll probably find out about it just by watching. But that time is not now, because I feel the same that I felt for 50 years. But we haven't, I think we have an obligation to, at least report your health. But I will tell you, to me, because of what happened for 4 years, I really think having a cognitive test for presidents to take a cognitive test is very important. I think it's very important. I'm hearing that they say it's, not with Biden. They said it was not constitutional. That was the least of his problems. But I think it's very important that a president or people running for president and vice president take a cognitive test. I think it's a very important thing. I don't know. They say you shouldn't do that, it's unjust, it's not constitutional. They say all these things, but I really believe that under Trump, wages are rising much faster than inflation for the first time in many years. Think of that. Wages are rising faster than inflation. That's what it's all about. And we're delivering lower prices and bigger paychecks. And the wage chart that you see up there is incredible. That NBC didn't put up and the networks didn't put up. There are more people working today than at any time in American history. And very importantly, while tens of thousands of new jobs under Biden were government jobs, they were government jobs. I could do that right now. You saw today we had 4.5% inflation. That's because I'm letting go of tremendous numbers of government workers. We're replacing them. In fact, we've reduced the federal workforce by 270,000 jobs. That's not to be mean. That's to get them off. And they are getting jobs in the private sector, and we're helping them to get jobs. But if you have all government jobs, we're going to be, a country that we don't want to mention names because we don't want to insult, but we're going to be a country that cannot be great. 100% just came out, 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. The only way to make our country great. Think of that. Think of that. 100% of the jobs created are in the private sector. Now, if I want to make some good numbers, I'll add 300,000 jobs. I can do it with one phone call. Each agency hire 25,000 people today. They hire them immediately. They pour in, and the 4.5% will be down to 2.5% in a matter of moments. I could get it down to zero. Hire a couple of million workers. The country's booming. We're down to zero, but that's the destruction of the country. That's what Biden used to do. They used to hire 10 people for one job. They'd have 10 people. Like, we'd look at a job and we'd say one person can do the job, but let's give it a break. Let's do two instead of, and they'd have like 9 people for one job. And that's really tantamount to a failed country. In 4 years, the last administration secured less than $1 trillion in new investments in our country. Think of that, 4 years, less than one. 4 years, the whole term, less than $1 trillion. In 10 months, I have secured a record-breaking $18 trillion more. They gave us doom and gloom, and I'm building the Trump economic boom. It's a boom. It's a boom. These factories, auto plants, AI plants, we've never had anything like it. I ended the radical left's war on American energy, terminated the Green New Scam, and signed an order to drill, baby, drill. We're drilling. You see where gasoline's coming from? Gasoline is now substantially lower than $2.50 a gallon, and many, many places now are under $2 a gallon for gasoline. And within the next 12 months, we will have opened 1,600 new electrical generating plants. That's a record all time. Because, we need tremendous amounts of electricity for AI and for all these plants. Electricity prices will fall very dramatically when these plants are open. To protect North Carolina workers, we imposed 25% tariffs on foreign automobiles, 50% tariffs on foreign steel, and I approved 25%, 30%, and 50% tariffs to save North Carolina's cherished furniture industry, which has been decimated by China. I used to come here a lot for one reason. I'd build hotels, and I'd build different buildings, and I'd come here to your furniture area. I used to love it. Those people were so talented. I'd buy so much furniture, and that was before politics. I did great. I was very good at real estate, I would tell you. But I used to come to North Carolina to buy furniture for lobbies or furniture for hotels, and I was here a lot. I mean, you've been decimated, but it's coming back now because I put tariffs on, big tariffs, actually. But I remember I'd say to a guy, I like that chair. You don't realize why I would look at a chair. The arm of the chair was very important to me. I said, I like that chair, but this arm has to be a different shape. You got to chisel that. I'm a very aesthetic person, believe me. Except with women, I don't care what a woman looks like. I used to say beautiful, now I don't care. Since politics, I never mention looks anymore. The most beautiful woman can walk right across. I don't even look at her anymore. Because in politics, that's the sign of death. We don't look. But I do look at the arm of a chair, and I say to your artists, they were artists, they were artisans, you know? I'd say, no, can you give a different curve? Can you do a little more carving at the end? They were right in front of me, bing, 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 bing. They were like geniuses. You lost the business. You went to China and other places, but mostly to China, because they never put tariffs on, just like they didn't put them on chips. Just like they didn't put them on cars. You lost 58% of your car industry. By the way, it's all coming back. Some of it's coming back too. It's all coming back. Because to bring a car into our country is costing 25 to 50% tariffs now. They can't do it. They can't compete. Tariff is, and I won't say it because it gets me in trouble, my favorite word. I know, my fifth favorite word. Do you remember when I said, the word tariff is my favorite word in the dictionary? Remember that? And then the fake news got me. What about religion? What about God? What about your family? What about your wife? What about your children? I said, no, they got me in this one. So now tariff is my fifth favorite word. And now I'm okay. It's my fifth. 5. Now I'm okay. But starting in the new year, the people of North Carolina will also see the dramatic results of the largest tax cuts in American history, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. No tax for our seniors. Tell me what? Let's do a poll. Because you know these pollsters charge you $1 billion to ask a question, then they just write down an answer, they don't do polls. It's a total con job, some of these polls. One thing I don't like about Fox is their pollster, total fake. Their pollster's the worst. They've been saying they're going to get rid of them for 10 years. A fake pollster, then you have the election, you win by numbers that are like through the roof. But Fox has been treating me good. They have great people there. Sean Hannity is great. Jesse is great. Laura's great. Greg is great. They're all great. We have great people. The morning is excellent. Who, what?
What about the corruption out here?
Which corruption?
Corruption with law enforcement.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have to do that. We're going to take care of that. We're going to take care of corruption in our country. I mean, I was talking about Fox. I don't know, he's talking about corruption. No, it's okay because he's on our side, but he's just a little ahead of me. He's talking about corruption. I'm talking about Fox, how good the anchors are, right? But they are really great. They are very good, but the pollster's no good. You know, he's no good. The pollster's terrible. But we still get good numbers, but the numbers are actually much better than that. But we're joined tonight by Heather Whitley, a bartender and server in Nashville, North Carolina, who will save over $5,000 from no tips. Think of that, from no tax and tips. Heather, where are you, Heather? Are you here, Heather? Where are you? Where are you? You want to come up? You want to come up? Come on up. She's going to save over $5,000, no tax on tips, toward a down payment on her first home. So Heather, congratulations. Look how amazing she is, right? Come on up. I don't know how you're going to get up that stair. Are you okay? Look at her. She has no problem. Somebody else would not be able to make it.
Well, it's been a tremendous help. It's now allowed me to invest in my first home, and that is the American dream for all of us. Much to say, sir. Thank you so much.
You said it perfectly. Thank you. Hey, you don't realize you said that so perfectly. because that's what it is. You're going to get a home and you're going to be happy as can be, and you are a great person. Thank you very much. You couldn't have been better. Thank you, darling. Also with us is Austin Harding, a police officer, highly respected, a loving father from Monroe. Austin and his wife are raising his son with autism. A beautiful son, beautiful person, and are passionate supporters of MAHA, and they love Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So and with no, thank you, Austin. And with no tax on overtime, Austin will have thousands of dollars, many thousands of dollars more to help care for his wonderful son. Last but not least, we have Carolyn and Charles Thurston, who run a successful small business providing care to senior citizens. That's great. Not only did we make their small business tax deduction permanent, helping them to expand, but under no tax on overtime, their employees will have much higher take-home pay, and that makes their job a lot easier. So, Carolyn and Charles, please stand wherever you may be. Oh, that's great. Thank you. So it's going good? Going good? Good-looking couple. Thank you very much. Another key part of our tax cuts is known as Trump accounts. You hear about that? You put money in and they are knocking them dead. It's great. It's Michael Dell Computer. He put up $6.25 billion. How do you like that? He started with no money, and now he puts $6 billion plus into the first accounts. I mean, think of it, $6 billion. It's, to be exact, $6.25 billion. Even the second part is a lot. And we've had a lot of great Wall Street titans, and a lot of great real estate titans that are all putting money in Trump accounts. It's for kids. They get a certain age and they're going to have money. It's going to double and triple, hopefully. It'll do well. Under this new program, the federal government will be creating an investment savings account for every single newborn American child with $1,000 to be invested and grow over the course of their life. So they'll reach 21 years, and it could be very good. They will consider themselves rich. I mean, it's a lot of money, actually. Friends, family, employers, and loved ones will be able to add thousands more each year, like a trust fund for every American child. It's something that people have wanted to do, but honestly, I give Mr. and Mrs. Michael Dell. Dell can go out and buy a computer from Dell, because I'll tell you what, they love the country. Great people. Every single Democrat in Congress voted against these incredible benefits. Every single Democrat said no, including a guy named Don Davis right here from this district. He voted against it. That's why you got to vote against him. Don Davis voted against no tax on overtime. He voted against no tax on tips. And he voted for the largest tax increase in American history. He wanted the largest tax, and he's your congressman. So, I don't know, you know. And honestly, I'm good at politics. I've never even heard of this guy, so he hasn't made a big impact. But he voted yes on every single Biden disaster, including massive inflation, open borders, sanctuary cities, and the Green New Scam. Don Davis betrayed North Carolina. Don Davis did nothing about the flood. He did nothing about the hurricane. I did it all with your congressman and with a couple of Republicans from your state that put their lives on the line to make sure this got done. And we had to wait till January 20th. They wouldn't do a damn thing. People the waters didn't recede. They were living in areas that didn't have water, and now they were surrounded by water. And by the way, Elon Musk, with his incredible, you would call it contraption of communication, incredible. I said, Elon, we need 500 of those. You couldn't get them because it's been very successful. He said, you'll have them tomorrow. Gotta give him credit for that, you know? I have my disagreements with him. I don't believe in the mandate where everybody has to have an electric vehicle within an hour. You know, I don't. But you got to give him credit. He really saved a lot of lives. Here tonight are some of the warriors who, unlike Don Davis, who's a disaster, vote against him, stood up for North Carolina, including Congressman Tim Moore and Brad Knott. Where are you guys? Hey, fellas, come up real fast. Come on up. Come on up. I'll tell you, these guys were, look at them, two handsome gentlemen of extremely different types. Yeah, that's great. Say hello, say a couple of words.
Well, everybody, I was with the president when he had his first trip, once he took the oath. And where did he come? North Carolina. As we gear up for the midterm cycle, where's the first state that President Trump has come? North Carolina. He knows what you know. It's the people that make this country great. It's not the government, it's not regulations. It's people just like you. And let me just tell you this, the fight is long, it's hard. I'm new to this, and I have been amazed at how hard the president is fighting for you. So let me say this simply, and with my whole heart, stay with us. We hear you, and we're going to keep fighting for you. Thank you so much.
I guess I'll have to lower the mic, Mr. President. Let me just say, echo what Brad said. I cannot think of a better president in the history of the United States. Someone who loves this country, who does so much. Mr. President, I don't know how you do it all. You make the Energizer Bunny look slow. It's absolutely incredible. The leadership that this man shows, not only in our country, but on the world stage. We are finally respected around the world again, and that is not an accident. Mr. President, North Carolina loves you, the United States loves you. Thank you for what you're doing. Great job. That's a great job, boy, oh boy. Well, they're going to win good, but you got to beat that other guy. Thanks also, I want to thank somebody very special. She's the Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez DeRima. Where's Lori? Lori, thank you. What a job. What a job you've done. Our friend did me a big favor when he recommended you. I was recommended by a great guy, a great friend of mine, and a big fan of Lori. And he said, I have somebody that would be great, and that was an understatement. You've been unbelievable. Thank you very much, Lori. Appreciate it. And another one who's been incredible, got a lot of energy. Director of Federal Housing Finance Agency. He's done a phenomenal job. Mr. Bill Pulte. Bill, thank you very much. Thank you, Bill. Also, State Senator Phil Berger. Phil, thank you. Great. And we have a lot of political people here. I would like to introduce them all. Will be here, but one we have to introduce, fellas, is Michael Watley. And he was the head of the Republican Party. Before that, he was the head of your party right here, the Republican Party, and we won 6 in a row, 3 primaries and landslides, and then we went on to win the election all 3 times, so we won 6 in a row. I've never had a loss with him. And when I won, look, we did phenomenal. It turned out, we won 3 times in a row, just so you understand. I don't mean here, I mean all over. We won 3 in a row. They might have done us a favor, but we won 3 in a row. But when we got screwed in the second election, it didn't happen over here. He had 601 lawyers he hired. They had lawyers at every single ballot box, and other people were cheating in other states that we won by a lot, and they were cheating. You could see it go, here we are, quah, quah.
You remember they had ballots all of a sudden. We just found 75,000 ballots, a total rigged deal. And by the way, you have not heard the last of that, I can tell you. But in this state, that didn't happen because you had a guy named Michael Watley, and he had every box secured. He had, I think, 2 or 3 lawyers at every station. But he had over 600 lawyers, I think 600, and I said, how many lawyers did you have? 601. I said, that's like genius. He was ahead of it. And you'd watch, you know, people went to bed that night. Everyone said the election's over, Trump won. And then all of a sudden they woke up in the morning, and 3 o'clock in the morning, they found hundreds of thousands of votes in some of these states. It was a rigged election, but not here because of him. And I said, I don't know if I'm doing this again, but if I'm doing this again, I want Michael Watley. I said, the guy from North Carolina, I want him to head the Republican National Committee, the RNC. And he did it beautifully. Come on up, Michael, come up. He did it so well, and we had the big election when he worked with Laura. Now, how good is Laura? Laura Trump, who was born here, loves this state so much. She could have done very well. By the way, I think Ted Budd is doing a very good job, too. I have to tell you. And I will say this, Tom Tillis fought with me for the Lumbee tribe, the Lumbee. I love the Lumbee. And he's really been very good. You know, we had a little dispute, but these are, you know, it's fine. He's been really good. Tom has been very, very good, and I appreciate it very much. And he's been very strong on the Lumbee tribe, and I think they're going to get out and they're going to vote. The Lumbees, you have some here. You have some of the leaders here. If you could, do you want to stand up if you're there? It's really great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Let them know we appreciate it. We got to get every one of those 60,000 votes or whatever. We got to get them for this guy. But the Lumbees have been great. I've been with them from the beginning. We got them across the finish line. But I want to ask Michael to say a few words. He's just been an unbelievable warrior. And I said, if I do this again, I'm going to get that guy in North Carolina who wouldn't let that phony, you know, they tried here too. They couldn't get away with it. They tried. He stopped it. He's a tough, strong guy. He's also a wonderful human being, he's just a great person. And I want to tell you, him and Laura Trump there's never been a better team. In fact, I said, before he did this, I said, if you had your choice for anybody to be your coach here, who would you pick? He said, I'd take Laura Trump again, right? He did say that. But I'd like to have Michael say he's in a fight against a radical left governor who did a shitty job for you. And I really want you, either way, but either governor, because you have another governor that's a Democrat. You know, virtually, I think every state run by a Democrat is a failure. Think of it. And now your state with all these killings, I never heard of killings, but all of a sudden, and they came in through Biden with his open border craziness, and these are vicious people. But I want this man to say just a few words because it's so important that he wins. You don't want to have a radical left senator that basically wants to have open borders, transgender for everybody, men playing in women's sports. Michael, are you in favor of men in women's sports? Are you in favor of transgender?